30,000 feet in the air, and Jake had never felt more alone. The cabin hummed. Engines, AC, little dings from the seatbelt sign, all of it just background noise. Because his 9-month-old daughter, Emma, she was losing it, not a cute little baby whine. I'm talking full blast, red-faced end-of-the-world scream. The kind that slices straight through your skull. People were doing that thing adults do on planes. You know the one. Half turn, quick glare, fake smile, deep sigh. Row 18 to 24 looked like a jury that had already decided he was guilty. A guy in a blazer and noise-canceling headphones pulled one ear cup off and muttered, "Man, control your kid, just loud enough for Jake to hear." Jake's palms were sweaty. His t-shirt was damp. Emma was arching her back, fighting him, tiny fists punching the air like she wanted a refund on this whole trip. He bounced her. He patted her back. He whispered, "Shh, shh. It's okay, baby girl. Daddy's got you." Yeah. She did not care. The flight was a red-eye from New York to Portland. In Jake's head, the plan had been perfect. Feed Emma right after takeoff. Fresh diaper, her favorite blanket. White noise playlist locked and loaded on his phone. He'd read every blog, watched every How to Fly with a Baby video. Even asked the mom from his single-parent support group who had 3 under 5 and called herself a walking disaster with a calendar. He tried to be ready. Because preparation felt like the only thing between him and total chaos. But Emma had her own schedule. And apparently it did not include sleeping on this flight. By the time they were somewhere over the Midwest, her fussing had turned into a full meltdown. He tried the bottle. She pushed it away. Tried the pacifier. She spit it out like, "Absolutely not, sir." He rocked her. He hummed some half-remembered lullaby his mom used to sing. He even did that awkward airplane sway in the tiny space between his seat and the aisle. Nothing. She just got louder. Jake could feel shame creeping up his neck, hot and sticky. He knew what people were thinking. He'd seen that look before in grocery stores, at the park, in the waiting room at the doctor's office. He's doing it wrong. Where's the mom? Poor kid. They weren't totally wrong. 10 months ago, he didn't even know how to fold a stroller. 10 months ago, he thought colic was like a type of coffee. 10 months ago, he was supposed to be the fun parent, the one who lifted the baby in the air and made silly faces, not the one checking temperatures and packing diaper bags with military precision. But life had other plans. His wife, Lily, had gone in for what was supposed to be a normal delivery. They'd picked out the paint for the nursery. They'd argued about baby names. They'd laughed about how nothing would change, even though everything would. And then, overnight, it did. Doctors talking in low voices. Jake still heard the sentence sometimes when the apartment got too quiet. "We're so sorry. We did everything we could. Lily never came home. Emma did." And suddenly Jake was not just dad. He was everything. Now here he was, squeezed into seat 21C, cradling a screaming baby with snot on her cheeks and spit up on his shoulder, trying not to completely fall apart at 30,000 feet. A flight attendant started coming down the aisle. You know that smile they have? Polite. Tight. The "Hi, I'm here to help, but also please don't make my job harder" smile? Yeah, that one. She stopped near their row. Jake braced himself. He could practically hear what she was about to say. "Sir, maybe you could walk her to the back? Sir, some of the passengers are trying to sleep." Sir, before she could open her mouth, someone else moved. A woman from across the aisle unbuckled her seatbelt and stood up. Jake hadn't noticed her before. He'd been too busy drowning in baby tears. She looked tired. Not, "I stayed up too late watching Netflix" tired. Real tired. Dark hair shoved into a messy bun. Soft t-shirt. Leggings. No makeup. Just those eyes that said she'd seen some things. A little girl, maybe 5, was knocked out cold against the window in the woman's row. Cheeks smooshed on the glass. A stuffed unicorn jammed under her chin. The woman didn't say, "Excuse me." She didn't ask, "Do you need help?" She just stepped into the aisle like she'd already made up her mind. She held out her arms. "Here," she said. Calm, firm, no fluff. "Let me hold her a minute." Jake froze. Every instinct screamed, "Dude, you don't just hand your baby to a stranger on a plane." He tightened his grip on Emma automatically. The crying kept going, louder, more ragged, like she was mad at the whole world. The woman didn't yank or push. She just kept her arms out, steady as a rock. "It's okay," she added, softer now. "I've been there. Trust me." Something in her voice wasn't polite. It wasn't fake. It sounded like someone who had done the 3 a.m. feeds and the, "I don't know why you're crying" nights, and the, "Oh my God, I am so tired I might cry too" mornings. The flight attendant paused, watching. The guy in the blazer shut up. Even the woman across the aisle who'd been sighing dramatically went quiet. Jake looked down at his daughter. Her face was red. Her tiny fingers were balled into fists, grabbing at his shirt. "I'm sorry, baby," he whispered, voice cracking. "Daddy's trying." "I swear I'm trying." His hands were shaking now. Whether from nerves or exhaustion, even he didn't know. He took one slow breath, then another, and against every anxious thought in his head, he nodded. "Okay," he said. Okay, just for a second. He shifted Emma, and the woman gently lifted her from his arms. The whole cabin seemed to hold its breath. She tucked Emma against her chest like she'd done it 1,000 times. One hand cradled the back of her head, the other rested on her tiny back. Then the woman started humming, not loudly, not some fancy song, just this low, steady hum with a simple little melody, somewhere between a lullaby and a prayer. She swayed in that narrow aisle like it was the most natural thing in the world. Left, right, left, right. Emma kept screaming for a few seconds. Then the sound changed, from a full siren to a softer, broken cry to hiccups. Then silence. Just like that. She let out one last shaky breath, sighed against the woman's neck, and went limp and heavy in sleep. You could feel the plane exhale. The guy in the blazer slid his headphones back on. The flight attendant blinked hard and turned away, like she'd just walked in on something private. People went back to their shows, their books, their scrolling. The woman looked up at Jake. Emma's tiny hand had grabbed a strand of her hair and refused to let go. For a second, nobody said anything. Then the woman gave him a small, tired smile. She just needed someone who wasn't freaking out, she said. That's all. Jake swallowed. His throat felt too tight. On Jake, he managed, voice low. Jake Miller. She eased into the empty seat next to him, still holding Emma like a pro. I'm Maya, she said. She nodded toward the sleeping kid by the window. And that little tornado over there is Zoe. Maya adjusted Emma slightly, never breaking that gentle sway. And before you think it, no, she added with a little smirk. I'm not some baby whisperer or whatever. I just remember what this feels like. What feels like? Jake asked, even though he already kind of knew. Maya stared past him, out the dark window. You could see the faint curve of the earth, the wing lights blinking. Being so wiped out you can't think straight, she said quietly, feeling like everybody's watching you mess up. Wondering if you're ever going to stop feeling like you're doing this whole parenting thing wrong? She drew in a breath, let it out slow. Yeah, she said, I remember this part. Emma slept on, breathing soft and even, like she'd been fine the whole time. Jake sat there, arms suddenly empty, heart suddenly not. For the first time in months, he didn't feel like the only grown-up in the world trying to hold everything together with duct tape and coffee. Up in the dark, recycled air of that plane, something tiny shifted. Not his situation. Not his grief. Just this, he wasn't the only one. For a while, they just sat there. Maya rocking Emma, Jake staring like he just watched actual magic happen. The engine noise filled the silence between them. Soft, steady, hypnotic. So, Jake said finally, how did you do that? Maya smirked. Honestly, she shrugged. I've paced more living rooms at 3 a.m. than I can count. After a while, you kinda unlock the baby settings. Jake huffed a laugh, a real one, small but real. Wish someone would just patch that into my brain, he said. Feels like I'm stuck on demo mode. Nah, Maya said. You're in beta. That's where all the real work happens. She adjusted Emma a little higher on her chest. Emma let out a tiny sigh and drooled on Maya's shirt like she paid rent there. So where's Mom? Maya asked gently. Work trip? Different flight? Jake's jaw clenched. There it was, the question. The one everybody asked eventually. He stared at the tray table for a second, tracing the scratch marks with his thumb. She's not around, he said slowly. Maya nodded once, didn't push. Didn't say, oh my God, what happened? Like most people. That helped. She pass? She asked quietly. No drama. Just the truth, straight up. Jake swallowed. His throat felt like sandpaper. Yeah, he said. 1 year ago. Well, almost. Complications when Emma was born. The words came out flat. He'd said them enough times now that they sounded like a line from a script he hated. I'm sorry, Maya said. Not the automatic, sorry people toss out in conversation. This one landed heavier, like she knew there was nothing else to say that wouldn't sound cheap. Jake stared at Emma's little socked feet. She got to hold her for like a minute, he added, maybe less. She was smiling. I remember that part. Then everything went sideways. His voice cracked on that last word. He cleared his throat, looked away. Maya shifted in her seat. For a second, he thought he'd said too much. Then she spoke. My kid's dad dipped when I was pregnant, she said. Straight like that. No sugarcoat. Found out I was having a baby and suddenly he needed time to figure himself out. She gave a short, humorless laugh. Still figuring, I guess. Jake looked up at her. You doing this solo too? He asked. Yup, she said. Just me, Zoe, and a whole lot of caffeine. She scratched the back of her neck. My mom helped at first, she added. She moved in, cooked, watched Zoe while I went back to work. Made fun of me when I cried over diaper brands. You know, mom stuff. Her voice softened on that last part. Jake heard something crack under the surface. Where is she now? He asked. Maya stared at the seat in front of her for a moment. She had a stroke 3 weeks ago, she said. Didn't wake up. Jake exhaled slowly. Damn, he said. I'm really sorry. Maya nodded. Yeah. Me too. For a few beats, neither of them spoke. Two strangers, same storm, different starting points. Across the aisle, Zoe shifted in her sleep. Her unicorn slid down to the floor. Maya bent and scooped it up with the kind of reflex only a parent has. You ever notice, she said, straightening, that people always say, wow, you're so strong, when what they really mean is, it looks exhausting and I'm glad it's not me? Jake snorted. Yeah, he said. I get the super dad speech a lot. Maya rolled her eyes. Let me guess, she said. You're doing amazing. I don't know how you do it. Your wife would be so proud. That soundtrack? Jake blinked. Have you been reading my texts or what? He asked. They both laughed this time, soft but real. The flight attendant walked by again, glanced at Emma sleeping peacefully on Maya's chest, and gave Jake a tiny thumbs up. He shrugged like, yeah, that was totally my plan the whole time. Can I ask you something? Maya said. Shoot. When she was crying, Maya shifted her grip on Emma, gently smoothing the baby's hair. What were you feeling? Like, actually? Jake looked caught. He almost said frustrated. He almost said tired. What came out was scared. He surprised himself with that one. Of what? Maya asked. Messing her up, he said quietly. Not knowing what to do. Everyone's watching and I'm like, bro, I barely know what I'm doing. He shook his head. And it feels like she knows, he added. Like she can sense it. That I'm winging it. Maya considered that. You know why I came over, she asked. Because my kid was loud enough to wake the whole plane, he said. She smirked. Partly, she admitted, but mostly because you weren't checked out. He frowned. What do you mean? I've been on flights, she said, where the kid is screaming and the parent is just gone. Headphones in, phone out, no eye contact, nothing. She nodded at him. You weren't doing that, she said. You were in it, trying, sweating, panicking, sure, but you were there. She glanced down at Emma. Babies can tell, she added. They don't need you to be perfect. They just need you to be present. Jake stared at her like she'd just handed him cheat codes. That's a lot easier to hear from someone who actually knows what they're doing, he said. Maya snorted. Oh, babe, I don't know what I'm doing either, she said. I just have more practice pretending. The overhead speakers crackled. Ladies and gentlemen, we've begun our initial descent into Portland. Please return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts. The cabin lights brightened a little. Shades clicked open. People started stretching, fixing their hair, waking up kids. Across the aisle, Zoe's eyes fluttered open. She blinked, confused, then spotted Maya and Emma. Her face lit up. Mom, she whispered loudly, pointing across the aisle. You stole a baby. A couple of nearby passengers chuckled. Maya grinned. I did not steal a baby, she said. Borrowed, with permission. Jake leaned across the armrest. Hey, Zoe, he said. I'm Jake. This is Emma. She was having a rough night. Zoe sat up straighter, very serious now. She was crying a lot, Zoe announced. Like when my tablet dies and Mommy says no more screen time. Jake put a hand over his heart. Yeah, that level of crisis, he said. Zoe thought about this, then nodded. She's cute now, she said. Can I say hi? Buckle first, Maya said automatically. Then you can wiggle your fingers at her, okay? Zoe clicked her seatbelt like she was arming a rocket. Hi, Emma, she said, wiggling her fingers in a tiny wave. I'm Zoe. I like dinosaurs and glitter and pancakes. Emma stirred, blinked once, then snuggled deeper into Maya's shoulder like, cool story, I'm still asleep. The plane dipped a little lower. Clouds slid past the window, glowing in that soft pre-dawn light. So what happens when we land? Maya asked suddenly. Jake looked thrown. What do you mean? I mean, she said, you have people there? Family? Friends? Or is it just you and the tiny boss lady? Tiny boss lady? He repeated, amused. She runs your whole life, doesn't she? Maya said. Definitely the CEO, he laughed. Yeah, he admitted. It's pretty much just us. Her grandma FaceTimes a lot. My buddy stops by sometimes. But day to day, yeah, it's me and the boss. Maya hesitated. Chewed her lip like she was debating something. I'm not trying to be weird, she said, but if you ever need a break, a coffee, another adult who gets it, whatever, we're around. We? He asked. She nodded toward Zoe. We live over by Hawthorne, she said. I work mornings at a bakery/coffee shop. It's called Skyline Bakehouse. Tiny place with a neon donut in the window. Hard to miss. Jake smiled faintly. That sounds kind of amazing, actually, he said. Maya shifted Emma again as the plane bounced slightly. She pulled down the little drink napkin from her tray table, dug a pen out of her bag, and scribbled something quickly. Here, she said. She slid the napkin over to him. On it, my APA plus ZOE Skyline Bakehouse, SE Hawthorne, and a phone number. No pressure, she said. Seriously. I'm not going to be offended if you never call. Life is chaos. I get it. Jake stared at the napkin like it might disappear. Why are you doing this? He asked. Maya glanced at Emma, then at Zoe, who was now narrating the landing to her unicorn. Because, she said slowly, When I first had Zoe, there was this woman at my bus stop, total stranger. She'd bring me coffee some mornings, hold the baby while I answered emails. She'd say, you don't have to earn help, you just have to be human. She met his eyes. Felt like somebody handed me a lifeline for free, she said. I'm just passing it along. The landing gear thumped out. The city lights glowed below them like a scattered galaxy. Jake folded the napkin, careful, like it was something fragile, and slid it into his wallet. Thank you, he said. The plane touched down with a bump. Everyone lurched forward, then back. Emma didn't even wake up. As they taxied to the gate, people started standing too early, grabbing bags, jamming the aisle. Maya finally handed Emma back. Her arms suddenly felt empty. Jake's felt full again. Their fingers brushed in the handoff. Warm, solid, real. You're doing better than you think, Maya said quietly. Jake looked up. You don't even know me, he said. She shrugged. I saw enough, she said. You stayed. You kept trying. That's the hard part. The seatbelt sign dinged off. The aisle clogged instantly. They shuffled forward in short, awkward bursts. At the front of the cabin, the morning light was harsh, flooding in through the open door. When they reached the split in the flow, one line peeling toward baggage claim, the other toward connecting flights, they hesitated. This your stop? She asked. Yeah, he said. Portland's home, for now anyway. We've got a layover and then one more flight, she said. Zoe tugged on her sleeve. Mom, I'm hungry, Zoe whispered. Like dinosaur hungry. See? Maya said. Zero chill. Always hungry. Zoe leaned around her mom to look at Jake. Bye, Emma's dad, she said. Don't let her cry too much. Babies get tired. Jake smiled. I'll do my best, coach, he said. Maya gave him one last look. Hey, Jake, she said. Yeah? She nodded toward his wallet where the napkin now lived. Don't overthink it, she said. If you need a place where no one rolls their eyes at a crying baby, we've got high chairs, crayons, and decent coffee. He let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. I'll think about it, he said. Her smile tilted. You already are, she said. Then the crowd pulled them apart. Maya and Zoe were swept toward their gate. Jake and Emma toward baggage claim. Within seconds, she was just one more person in a river of travelers. But the weight of Emma in his arms felt different now. Not lighter, just shared somehow. He kissed the top of her head. You did good, kiddo, he murmured. Guess we're not totally alone in this mess, huh? Emma yawned in her sleep, didn't answer. She didn't have to, because in his back pocket, a crumpled napkin said otherwise. Time didn't exactly fly. It just stacked up. Days into weeks, weeks into months. Life with Emma settled into a kind of messy routine. Early mornings, sticky high-chair trays, half-drunk coffee, diapers that defied physics. Jake went back to work, not full-time at first, just enough to keep his job and his sanity. He'd drop Emma at daycare, kiss her forehead, whisper, be nice to your teachers, tiny boss, and walk out the door feeling like he'd handed over half his ribcage. Coworkers said all the usual things. You're a champ, man. Seriously, I don't know how you do it. Super dad, he'd smile, nod. Make some joke like, she hasn't fired me yet, and then go eat his lunch in his car because it was the only quiet place he had. He got better at the practical stuff. He could swap a diaper in the back seat without getting poop on the upholstery. He could heat a bottle with one hand while answering an email with the other. He learned which laundry detergent didn't make Emma break out in a rash. On paper, he was killing it. Inside, yeah, that was a different story. The loneliness didn't hit in the chaos. It snuck in during the in-between moments, when Emma finally passed out and the apartment went weirdly quiet. When he walked past the baby aisle and saw couples arguing over stroller colors. When he scrolled past pictures of family dinners and date nights and closed the app a little too fast. And almost every night, right before he went to bed, he'd empty his pockets on the dresser. Keys, wallet, loose change, and that folded-up napkin. MyAYA plus ZOE Skyline Bakehouse XXXXXXXXXX. He could have thrown it away. Should have, probably. Instead, he kept tucking it back into his wallet like some tiny crumpled what-if. He didn't text, didn't call, didn't show up. He told himself 100 different stories. She was just being nice on the plane. She probably doesn't even remember me. She's got her own life, man. Chill. But then there were nights Emma would lose it. The bad nights. The ones where she cried and nothing helped. Teething, gas, nightmare. Who knew? He would rock her, pace the hallway, whisper, "It's okay, love. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here." And sometimes, in the middle of those long, echoey hours, he'd hear it, that low hum. The simple, steady tune Maya had used on the plane. Emma did too. More than once, while he was humming that half-remembered melody, she'd stop screaming. Just stop. Like her brain went, oh, that one. That's safe. Every single time Jake saw the plane in his head, the aisle, the dark cabin, Maya standing there, arms out, that tired, soft smile. One night, about 6 months after the flight, he took the napkin out of his wallet, sat on the couch, and stared at it for 20 straight minutes. His thumb traced the ink until it almost smudged. He opened his texts, started typing, "Hey, it's Jake, from the plane." Then he deleted it. "Not tonight," he muttered. "Maybe later." Later turned into whenever. Whenever turned into months. Emma changed faster than the seasons. She went from rolling over to army crawling to full-on baby parkour. She pulled herself up on the coffee table, on his leg, on anything that would hold still long enough. She started saying real words. Da-da, ball, up, no, a lot. One night she waddled from the couch to his arms, 3 whole steps, and his heart almost broke out of his chest. "Look at you," he shouted, spinning her around. "That's it, big girl. Walking like you own the place," she laughed. That little bell sound laugh that made everything else quiet down for a second. Then, later, when he was cleaning up toys, she toddled over to him, grabbed his pant leg, and started humming. Not nonsense, not random noise. The tune. Maya's tune. Slow, off-key, but definitely it. Jake froze. "Where'd you learn that, huh?" he whispered. Emma just looked up at him with those big eyes that looked so much like Lily's and hummed again. It was like someone cracked open a window in his chest. Fresh air. Cold. Real. Yeah. Around the time Emma's first birthday started creeping up, people kept asking him what he was doing for it. "You throwing a party? You gotta do a smash cake. Big balloon photo shoot, bro. Come on." He nodded, smiled, said he'd figure something out. The night before her birthday, after Emma finally knocked out surrounded by stuffed animals, Jake walked into the kitchen, opened his wallet, and took the napkin out again. He stared at the address like it was a dare. S.E. Hawthorne, Skyline Bakehouse. "It's just a coffee shop," he told himself, "not a marriage proposal." His heart wasn't buying it. He leaned his hands on the counter, breathing slow. "Okay, look," he said out loud, "to nobody. To the universe, or whatever's listening, I'm not asking for some big movie moment. I don't want to feel like I'm the only grown-up on the planet anymore. That's it." The next morning, he dressed Emma in a little birthday outfit, a soft blue dress with tiny white stars his sister had mailed over. "Big day, kiddo," he said, 1 whole year of being the boss. He strapped her into the car seat, tossed the diaper bag in the trunk, and started driving. At first, he told himself they were just going to the park. Then, "We're just going for a drive." Then, "We're just seeing the neighborhood." His GPS didn't care what story he told himself. It just guided him straight to S.E. Hawthorne. The sign was exactly like Maya had described it. A little storefront with big windows, plants in mismatched pots, and a neon donut glowing in the glass. Skyline Bakehouse was painted above the door in slightly crooked letters. There were people sitting at outside tables, a woman with a laptop, a guy reading the paper, a couple sharing one giant muffin like a rom-com. Jake parked across the street. His hands sat on the steering wheel, frozen. Emma babbled in the back seat, kicking her feet, completely unbothered. He could have left. So easily. He could have said, "Too crowded," or "Not the right time," or "She's probably not even working today." He almost talked himself into it. Then Emma did something she'd never done before. She pointed at the window, at the neon donut, at the people. "Go," she said. Just that. One little word. Jake laughed, half nervous, half amazed. "Oh, now you have opinions," he said. "All right, boss. Okay." He unbuckled her, hoisted her onto his hip, checked his reflection in the car window, and realized he looked exactly like what he was, tired, a little rumpled, trying. He crossed the street. Every step was too loud in his head. 100 thoughts at once. "She won't remember you. This is weird. You're weird. Turn around. Don't turn around." He reached the door. Through the glass he could see the counter, cases full of pastries, steam rising from cups, people talking, laughing, working, and behind the register. A woman with her hair pulled up in a loose ponytail, an apron dusted with flour, head thrown back as she laughed at something the older man next to her said. Jake didn't need a second look. It was her. Maya. Something in his chest did a weird flip, panic and relief at the same time. He almost backed up, almost bailed. Emma saved him again. She saw Maya, smacked her palm against the glass, and squealed. "Ma!" Jake flinched. "Whoa, hey, no," he whispered. "That's not..." A bell over the doorway chimed, bright and cheerful, cutting through the coffee shop buzz. Heads turned, not all of them, just enough to make him feel like he'd accidentally walked into someone else's living room. He shifted Emma higher on his hip, stepped inside. The smell hit him first. Warm bread, cinnamon, coffee, sugar, home, if home had a smell. The older man behind the counter, white beard, plaid shirt, the whole grandpa that owns the place vibe, glanced up at the bell, then at Jake. Then Maya turned. It took her half a second. Her eyes went from customer mode to who just walked in to shock. Real shock. You could see the exact moment recognition landed. Her whole face changed. Jake, she whispered. The mug in her hand almost slipped. The older guy reached out and grabbed it just in time. Emma bounced on his hip and smacked his chest like, hey, that's the lady from my favorite song. Ma, Emma said again, grinning. Then pointed straight at Maya. Jake's stomach dropped. Maya, he said, voice shaky. Hey, surprise? For a second, nobody moved. The espresso machine hissed in the background. Someone in the corner laughed at something on their laptop. A chair scraped. Inside that little bubble between the door and the counter, time stretched. Maya set the mug down slowly, untied the top half of her apron like she'd been waiting for an excuse to get out from behind the counter all morning. The older man backed away with a knowing look, like he'd seen this kind of moment before. Maya walked around the counter, wiping her hands on a towel she didn't really need. She stopped a few feet from Jake and Emma, close enough to see the tired lines around his eyes, close enough to see how big Emma had gotten. Hey, boss lady, Maya said softly to Emma, you got bigger on me. Emma kicked her feet and tried to hurl herself into Maya's arms. Jake held on, startled. Whoa, hey, okay, he stammered. Maya laughed, and Jake hadn't realized until right that second how much he'd missed that sound. Can I? She asked, finally looking at him. He thought about the plane, about the crying, the humming, the napkin that followed him everywhere. He nodded. Yeah, he said. Yeah, I think you already passed the background check. She reached out. Emma went willingly, no hesitation, like she was clocking into the right shift. The second Maya settled her on her hip, Emma rested her head on Maya's shoulder and let out that soft, sleepy sound babies make when they feel safe. Maya blinked fast. Oh, she whispered. Oh, okay, yeah. I remember you too, kid. Jake stood there, suddenly empty-armed again, but this time it didn't feel like losing. It felt like sharing. Maya looked back up at him. You came, she said. He swallowed. Yeah, he said. It took me a minute. Her lips twitched. Buddy, she said, you took almost a year. He laughed, embarrassed, rubbing the back of his neck. Yeah, well, he said, we move on baby time. Behind the counter, the older man called out, Maya, you want to take 5? I got the line. Go sit with your friends. Friends. Jake glanced around, then back at her. Maya smiled, soft, a little wet around the edges. Come on, she said. Let's get you to a table. She turned toward the corner of the shop, and that's when he saw her. A little girl at a low table by the window, surrounded by crayons, drawing something with intense, tongue-out concentration. Dark curls. Familiar unicorn slumped in the chair beside her. Zoe. He didn't even have time to process it before she looked up. Her eyes went huge. She shot out of her seat like she'd been launched. Mom, she yelled, loud enough to make 3 people jump. It's the airplane guy. And the baby. She barreled toward them at full speed. Hi, baby, she said, already reaching for Emma's hand. Remember me? I'm Zoe. I told you about dinosaurs and pancakes, remember? Emma shrieked happily and kicked. Jake looked at Maya. Maya looked at Jake. And somewhere between the neon donut and the corner crayon table, something in his chest let go of the edge. Just a little. Not grief, not Lily, not the hard parts. Just this one thing. He wasn't walking into this coffee shop alone. Zoe reached them like a tiny hurricane. Can I hold her hand? Please, 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 she asked, practically vibrating. Maya smiled. Ask Jake, babe, she said. Emma's his boss. Zoe turned those big, serious eyes on him. I'll be gentle, she promised. I know how to be soft. I'm 5 now. That's like huge, Jake snorted. Yeah, that's pretty advanced, he said. All right, deal. Soft hands only. He set Emma down carefully. Those wobbly toddler legs did their little side-to-side thing, but she stayed up. Zoe held out her hand. Hi again, baby, she said solemnly. I'm still Zoe. I still like pancakes. Emma studied her like she was a very important decision. Then she grabbed Zoe's fingers and giggled. That was it. Best friends. No paperwork needed. Corner table, Maya said, nodding toward where Zoe's crayons were. Go show her where the art studio is, Zoe gasped. Emma, come on, she said. You gotta see my sparkle crayons. They're insane. The 2 of them toddled off. Zoe did a slow, careful walk so Emma could keep up, narrating the whole way like a tiny tour guide. Jake watched them go with this look on his face. Half awe, half terror, half, I might cry in public and I'm not ready for that, Maya noticed. Come on, she said gently. Sit. They took the table by the window, the good light table. The kind where the sun hits just right, turning dust in the air into little floating stars. The older man behind the counter, plaid shirt, white beard, full grandpa energy, brought over 2 coffees and a muffin big enough to qualify as an event. House special, he said. On the house. Maya's been waiting for this one. George, Maya groaned. You cannot just say stuff like that. George winked at Jake. I absolutely can, he said. That's the perk of being old. Enjoy, kid. He walked away, whistling. Jake wrapped his hands around the warm mug. He hadn't realized how cold his fingers were. So, Maya said softly. You made it. Barely, he admitted. I sat in the car for like 10 minutes giving myself a TED talk. She laughed. Oh, mood, she said. I have to hype myself up just to call the dentist. They sip their coffee in that comfortable, awkward silence you only get when two people are trying really hard not to mess something up. Emma's laugh floated over from the corner. Zoe was explaining something about purple dinosaurs and rainbow storms. So, Maya asked, eyes still on the kids, how's it been since the flight? Jake blew out a breath. Messy, he said. Loud, weird, good, terrifying, all of the above. He scrubbed a hand over his face. Got better at the logistics, he went on. You know, schedules, bottles, sleeping in 2-hour episodes like a Netflix series. He swallowed. The lonely part, though, he added? Yeah, that didn't really calm down. Maya nodded like she'd been waiting for that part. Yeah, she said quietly. That one sticks. She took a breath. I didn't lie on the plane, she said. My mom really was my person, my backup. My, hey, I'm losing it, please come over hotline. She traced a little ring of moisture her mug had left on the table. After she died, it felt like somebody turned the volume down on the whole world, she said. Like everything kept moving, but I was off by a half second. Jake watched her, really watched her. Same, he said. With Lily, I kept thinking there was going to be this moment where I'd feel ready to be okay, like the healing would hit a checkpoint or something. He shrugged. Still waiting, he said. Maya looked up at him. You loved her a lot, huh? She asked. He let out a breath that sounded like it had been trapped all year. She was my person who knew all my dumb jokes and still chose me, he said. We had all these plans. And then suddenly it was just. He snapped his fingers. Me, a baby, and a bunch of casseroles from people who didn't know what else to do. Maya's eyes softened. My mom used to say, she murmured, that grief is just love with nowhere to go. Jake swallowed hard. Yeah, he said hoarsely. That tracks. For a minute they just listened to the shop, milk steaming, chairs sliding, quiet music from the speakers, kid giggles from the corner. Can I say something kind of weird? Maya asked. Please do, he said. Normal hasn't really worked out for me anyway. She smiled at that. The night we landed, she said, I got to the hotel, put Zoe in the bath, and just sat on the floor. Her fingers twisted in her apron. I kept thinking about you, she admitted, about the way you looked at Emma. The way you looked at me when I took her, like you were handing over your heart and your panic at the same time. She laughed, a little embarrassed. And I thought, that's what my mom meant, she said. Meant about what, he asked. About good men, she said simply. She always told me, the good ones stay. Not just when it's fun, not just when it's easy. They stay when everything is falling apart and there's no guarantee it gets better. Her eyes shone now, but she didn't look away. You stayed, she said. For Emma, for yourself. For a life you didn't ask for but didn't run from. Jake stared at the table. I didn't feel brave, he said quietly. I felt stuck. Yeah, Maya said. That's the trick nobody tells you. The brave ones never feel brave. They just don't bail. He looked up then. Her gaze met his, steady. And you? He asked. He didn't bail either, she snorted. Oh, trust me, I fantasized about it, she said. Just getting on a bus and vanishing into some beach town where nobody needs snacks. But, he pressed. But Zoe deserves someone who shows up, she said. So I stayed. Even when I wanted to disappear into my hoodie. They both laughed softly. In the corner, Zoe held up a sheet of paper. Mom, Emma's dad, she shouted across the bakery. Look, we made you guys. The drawing was chaos. 4 stick figures. One tall with spiky lines for hair. One with a giant bun. 2 small ones with circles for hands. A bright yellow sun. A lopsided house. Too many hearts. Jake blinked fast. Oh man, he whispered. That's something. Art, babe, Maya said. Put some respect on it. Zoe marched over and slapped the drawing on the table like a signed contract. This is you, she said, pointing. And this is my mom, and this is me, and this is baby Emma. We live in a house with a swing and a dog and a giant slide, and you both make pancakes all the time. Jake choked on a laugh. Oh, wow, he said. Marketing department's already hard at work. Maya smoothed the crinkled page gently. We're just friends, Bug, she told Zoe. Okay? Grown-up friends, that's it. Zoe shrugged. Yeah, but you hold this baby like you're not scared, she said, already wandering back to the crayons. That's important, Maya froze. Jake did too. Kids, man, no filter, zero chill. Accidentally wise. Maya looked back at him. For the record, she said softly, I was scared on that plane. You didn't look it, he said. Yeah, well, she replied, I had to look like I knew what I was doing. That's basically my entire parenting strategy, he smiled. Same, he said, silence again. But this time it was soft, not sharp. So, Maya said at last, what do you want this to be, for real? No movie speeches, just you talking. He stared out the window for a second. Cars passing. People walking dogs. Normal life. I don't know exactly, he said. I just know I'm tired of doing everything solo. And when I picture Emma growing up, I don't want her whole world to be just me and a stroller and a few daycare teachers. He rubbed his thumb along the coffee mug handle. I don't want to erase Lily, he said, but I don't think she wanted me stuck in that hospital room forever either. Maya nodded once, like that made sense. My mom felt the same, she said. She used to say, don't build a shrine out of your pain, baby. You still got to walk around it. That's weirdly helpful, he said. She was full of weirdly helpful, Maya replied. He looked back at her. So maybe we don't slap a label on this yet, he said. We just show up. Coffee, kids, chaos, see where it goes. No pressure, no big promises we're too scared to keep. Her smile started small, grew. I can work with that, she said. 1 cup of coffee at a time. And 1 drawing at a time, he added, nodding toward the masterpiece. And 1 meltdown at a time, she said. Can't forget those. They both laughed, like they'd already been through some of those together. George appeared again, leaning on the back of a chair. So, he said casually, we opening a tab for this crew or what? Maya rolled her eyes. George, she said, go wipe a counter or something. George just grinned. Love to see it, he muttered, heading back to the register. Emma toddled over then, mouth sticky with muffin crumbs, and lifted her arms toward Jake. Dada, she said. Up. He scooped her up. She turned immediately and lunged for Maya. Ma, she said like it was obvious. Ma. Maya's eyes went shiny again. You do not have to apologize for that, she said quickly, seeing Jake's face. It's just, he started. Jake, she cut in gently. Relax. She's not replacing anyone. She's just adding. He let that sit for a second. Adding, he repeated. Emma squirmed until she was half in his arms, half in Maya's. A weird little shared hug that somehow worked. Over by the art table, Zoe announced loudly, this is our team now. Then paused. And our team has snacks. Strong priorities, Maya said. Yeah, Jake agreed. She's got it figured out. He looked at Maya, really looked. At the flower on her apron, the dark circles under her eyes, the way she was still standing, still showing up. Hey, he said quietly. Thanks. For that night on the plane. For this. For not pretending it's easy. She held his gaze. Thanks for coming, she said. Took guts, and a car seat, and probably 3 diapers. He laughed. 4, he admitted. I overpacked, obviously. She reached across the table then. Not some big dramatic gesture. Just her hand, palm up, sitting there. An offer, not a demand. He shifted Emmett to one side and laid his hand in hers. Their fingers laced like they'd done this before in another version of their lives. Okay then, Maya said softly. Let's see what we can build. No rush. Yeah, he said, no rush. The bell over the door chimed as someone else walked in. The espresso machine hissed. Zoe started narrating a new drawing about our giant house that we might have one day, but not yet. Calm down. Life went on. But at that little table by the window, something quiet and important had shifted. Not a fairy tale fix. Not happily ever after stamped on a mug. Just this. 2 tired adults. 2 loud kids. 2 stories full of loss. Choosing, on a regular Tuesday morning, not to be alone in it anymore. If you zoomed out, it would have looked simple. A hand reaching across the table, a baby humming an old tune, a crayon drawing of 4 stick figures taped to a fridge someday. But that's how a lot of big things start. Not with fireworks, not with a speech, with a stranger on a plane who says, hey, I've been where you are. Let me help for a minute. With a napkin that doesn't get thrown away, with a door that chimes and a choice to walk through it. 1 cup of coffee at a time, 1 rough night at a time, 1 tiny stubborn act of kindness at a time. And somewhere above all of that, up where the planes cut lines across the sky, you just know there's another crying baby, and maybe another tired parent, and maybe some other stranger reaching out their arms and saying, here, you don't have to do this part alone. All right, I'm going to wrap it here. If this story touched you even a little, hit like, smash that subscribe button, and turn on all notifications so you never miss the next one. Drop a comment and tell me.